You have arrived. You have made it. This is in introduction number 3 for Unleashed. We are going to get to the end of introducing some of the core techniques that you can use and what you can reference back to before we do the core work. Okay, you're going to be using these as you go through evaluating your relationships, how they affected you, how you can release them, what they've done for you, how you played a part in it. I mean, we're going to go over all of that. But when you're referencing back if it was healthy versus unhealthy, am I an empath? Is that playing a part? We're going to go over the abuse cycle, codependency, being a victim, assets you can learn more about yourself, stages of grief, 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 energy vampires, shame and guilt, letting go, and comparisons, how all of this plays into relationships. And if you can forgive yourself and move on to healthier, happier relationships, can you see? What's happening or what happened, what lessons you can learn. We're going to be referencing back to all of these. And we're going to go through it in the workbook. um, I'm just sitting here thinking if you actually want to go back and forth to the workbook, back and forth, some of it has pictures. I think for this first portion, I'm just going to read it because it doesn't have any pictures. It can get really boring. And I don't want this to be boring for you guys. I don't want it to be over dramatic and hard to swallow. These are just facts. They're just things that can help you. I mean, a lot of this you would be learning from a psychologist or a counselor if you were going through therapy and working through relationships. Okay, you would be learning this. Well, they might not be telling you everything. They might tell you a little bit here and there, but I'm really going to go into depth and detail so that you guys can grasp what types of relationships you've had and what do you want moving forward. What is your intention now? And forgiving yourself, working on your internal relationship. So I'm just going to read these, and I'll get to it when there's pictures. Okay, so I'm first going to go over a healthy relationship. This is any relationship in any capacity, between a mother and a child, between a husband and wife, between friends, sisters, acquaintances, coworkers. Healthy relationships bring out the best in you. No relationship is perfect, and it may not be good 100% of the time and have imperfections. Totally perfect time to be imperfect, right? A healthy relationship will be good most of the time and bring you up. It will make you want to be better. It will raise your vibration. You can feel it. You can feel those people that bring you to a higher place. So let's go over some examples, okay? They go at a comfortable pace. I see this a lot in relationships with sometimes friends, but mostly lovers, where one party is forcing them to, I guess that's unhealthy, but they're forcing them to go quicker than they want to. And in a healthy relationship, there is a natural progression, boundaries, authenticity, and truth that comes out. You'll have growing pains and discomfort, but it feels balanced. You guys balance with each other, and you make compromises. And it goes at a comfortable, good pace. It's not too fast, it's not too slow. It feels really good. And you have a mutual respect for each other's concerns, worries, and boundaries. Trust. This is a belief and faith in the relationship that the other person values you and will not maliciously hurt you or sabotage the relationship. The other person in the relationship also trusts you to have the same value for them. These are partners that are comfortable when you do things without them. Go ahead, go out with your friends. Totally comfortable. I trust you. They have faith that they won't cheat on them. There's respect and privacy. And it doesn't make you go out of your way or work hard to earn their trust either. There's a mutual respect and value for each other. Honesty. This means being truthful and open with your partner or in a relationship, being authentic about your feelings, situations, outcomes, without fear or judgment. Yeah, I know this can be hard because when we are honest, we have a fear of rejection. Allowing for growth and understanding is the entire point of honesty. Having independence, it is very important to be independent of your partner, be an individual. You don't want to lose your individuality when you get in a relationship. So having space, freedom to do the things that you love and that excite you, your partner or a friend might not like some of those things. And you have that freedom to do those things with yourself or with other people. You can dip into your passions, your hobbies, self-care routines, outings with friends, mom dates with your daughter, or meditation. You have a specific time you like to be alone and meditate. I like to do my card readings. I love to film these videos for you guys, and I make space, I make time to be alone for that. And you should feel supported in those things that you enjoy and being able to be independent of each other. There's a mutual respect in these relationships. You value each other's opinions, beliefs, and the person that you are and the person that they are. They support your hard work, your efforts, achievements, and downfalls. They find value in your dreams, your boundaries, and they stick up for you. And this is what I was saying when they raise your vibration, they make you feel better, they make you do better, and it's because of this mutual respect. There's equality, an equal effort in the relationship. You'll feel like you're being heard, your feelings are valued, you're being seen, you're being understood on a deep level. They may know you at a soul level. I know there's different relationship tiers of equality. The relationship will be based on making decisions together, not manipulating or leaving the other party out. Equal compromise. Okay, compassion. Having a sense of knowing, having a sense or knowing that care and concern is coming from the other party. Knowing that they will be there for you, supporting you, understanding you, being kind to you. When either one of you is going through a hard time, there's empathy and open conversation. Taking responsibility. Both of you and the other party in the relationship are responsible for their own actions and their own words. You both avoid putting blame on each other and own up to your actions when you do something wrong. Maybe one of you will call the other one out on their actions, and then you're like, oh yeah, I did that, you know. But there's a compromise there, right? Loyalty is respect, trust, and compassion, equality, all shown through actions. You are showing each other that you have each other's back. Secrets are kept safe. Information that you gave each other is not used against you. And this was a really hard one. I've been in so many unhealthy relationships where anything that I have said, they have used against me. And nowadays on the internet, I know this happens where people will take whatever you say out of context and use it against you. When you're online, when you get in a relationship with somebody, loyalty is key. Listening and understanding the other person is key. And then we get on to communication. Talking to the other person in the relationship about the good, bad, and the ugly, being able to be honest and open about all areas of their life and your life, open about emotions, feelings, circumstances, and possible outcomes. Communication can clear up a lot of misunderstandings. So communicating is a very healthy tool to use in a relationship. So it goes over that, and then it goes into unhealthy behaviors. This helps when you're trying to evaluate, why did I feel the way that I felt in this relationship? You know, why is this coming up? And it could be because it was unhealthy and you might not realize it. So, again, any type of relationship, mother daughter, mother father, sisters, siblings, grandparents, extended family, friends, coworkers. In a negative or unhealthy relationship, these behaviors are used to gain power or control over the other person. This behavior can have long term effects on your emotional and mental well being. Unhealthy behaviors can escalate to violence. If you feel like something might be off in your relationship, trust your gut and get help. So, these are some of the behaviors that unhealthy relationships have or an unhealthy person has to take power over you. And I'm not going to, sometimes you might have had uh, the same characteristics and you've done this to other people. I am totally, I mean, when I was a teenager, 20s, I totally had these. I totally had. I mean, it goes over intensity, jealousy, manipulation. I mean, what teenager hasn't had that? Drama queen, right? um, but when we learn, we come out of that and we can see the other side and we might experience it. And sometimes when we experience it, we have those traumas that we need to work through. And you might have been somebody's, you might have caused trauma to somebody. And we're going to look at all of that. We're going to look at both sides, okay? So some of the qualities are intensity. They can be extreme, quick actions and expression of anger, over the top feelings that feels like way too much for whatever the situation is. It doesn't match. They're rushing the pace of the relationship, always wanting to see you and talk to you, constantly making excuses and overstepping your boundaries, not valuing you. Jealousy. This is an emotion that everyone experiences and can be expressed in a healthy manner with open communication. It becomes unhealthy when someone tries to control you or lashes out at you. Can be getting upset when you text or hang out with other people. Your friend feels threatened by accusing you of untruths, being possessive over you, or even going so far as to stalk you. Manipulation. When the other person in the relationship tries to influence your actions, emotions, and decisions to get what they want. It is not always easy to spot a manipulator, but you will get an ill feeling or pits in your stomach. Examples are convincing you to do things that you wouldn't normally feel comfortable with, ignoring you until they get their way, and using gifts and apologies to influence your decisions or get back in good graces with you. Isolation. Isolation is a form of controlling the other person. If you have no one around, it is easier to manipulate and control somebody. So, in abusive relationships, they will isolate the victim. So, it is harder for them to get out of the situation. All of their friends will go away, or they will make it so difficult for their friends to come around. They will take away their car. They will make them stay home and be at home parents. Like, oh, go ahead, don't have a job. And I'm not saying that this is every relationship. Every stay-at-home mom must have an abusive significant other. That's not true. But it is one of the signs when the person is very isolated. They don't have any more connections. They don't have any more contact with the outside world. And like money is taken away from them. Money is put in another account so that they can't get to it. They can't get to financial. They can't get to a vehicle. They don't have a job. They don't have friends. They don't have connections. And they get more and more isolated until they can't get out of the situation. This is one of the tactics of an abuser, trying to control the other person. If no one is around, it's easier to manipulate and control them. They can't, when you're being controlled, you can't really compare it to somebody else if you have nobody to talk to. You think that it's normal, right? This includes keeping an individual away from family, friends, and other people in any capacity. This could be where your partner makes you choose between them and your friends. insisting you spend all your time with them, making you question your own judgment of friends and family, and making you feel dependent on them for money, love, and acceptance. Sabotage, purposely ruining your reputation, achievements, or success. This can be making you miss work, school, or practice, keeping you from getting schoolwork done, talking about you behind your back, or starting rumors, and threatening to share private information about you. Belittling. The other person in the relationship may make you feel bad about yourself, call you names, make rude remarks, use you as a joke, make fun of you, or even use private information against you. Guilting. The other person will make you feel guilty or responsible for their actions. They don't want to take responsibility for their actions, and so they blame it on you, even though you had nothing to do with it. Remember, in boundaries, it is not my job to take responsibility for others. Okay, remember what I taught you in boundaries. It's not your responsibility. Can be making you feel responsible for their happiness, making you feel like everything is your fault, threatening to hurt themselves or others if you don't do as they say, or stay with them. And I've had quite a few people where their significant other has, they've talked about committing suicide or killing themselves if they don't do what, you have to stay with me, you have to do this, you have to, or I'm just going to kill myself. It's all your fault. Very harmful, unhealthy behavior. Or pressuring you to do anything sexual you are not comfortable with. Volatility. This is an erratic overreaction in any situation that makes you feel like you need to walk on eggshells. Don't do the dishes. You can't do that. Have you ever had that situation? Have you ever been in that type of relationship? Or were you in an abusive family where you had to walk on eggshells and it seems so silly now? Like, why couldn't you wash the dishes? Or why couldn't you walk down the stairs? Or why couldn't you open the door? It's just opening a door, but it creates such a volatile situation that you're walking on eggshells everywhere you're going. Or that you have to alter your behavior, emotions, communications, or situations to keep them from lashing out at you. Well, I accidentally rinsed the dish and put it over there and they hit me. Very volatile situation. It just doesn't match the reaction. It doesn't match. It's a range of giant mood swings, violent anger, yelling, threatening to hurt you or destroy things and make you feel afraid of them. They may cause drama in relationships, so they can react in this manner to have more control over the situation. Deflecting responsibility. Every individual is responsible for their own behavior, but some individuals consistently make excuses for their behavior. The other person may continually blame you, other people, past situations, past actions. They may use drugs, alcohol, mental health issues, or past experiences like divorced parents for a reason for unhealthy behavior. Right? My parents got divorced. Who cares? It doesn't matter. You have to work on yourself. You have to work on yourself. Take responsibility for your own actions. If someone knows that they do not have good coping mechanisms or have past trauma, they should be getting help, assistance, or counseling. It is unhealthy to continually deflect and not take responsibility for your actions. And lastly, betrayal. There are many forms of betrayal depending on your boundaries. This is a misuse of your boundaries or a compromised character of the other. Use of private information used against you, spreading private information that you told in secret. There may be lying or two-faced behavior. So that is healthy versus unhealthy. And you are going to go back to this in the workbook when we are doing the first 4 weeks of the program. When we're evaluating all of the relationships that you've had, you go back and you're like, God, why do I feel like so much turmoil with this relationship, and it could just be that it was unhealthy. There was unhealthy behavior, and that's why you felt the way you did. And we'll get into more detail about it, but it's just a reference point. I'm not trying to make this dark or heavy. It's just a reference point. So I think I'm going to share, and we're going to go on to the next, because the other ones have pictures. And I like pictures. It makes it not so boring. So we're going to go over the abuse cycle, okay? You see the abuse cycle here? It's calm, nothing's happening. Tension builds, and you could be walking on eggshells. It's building and building and building. The pressures of daily life or other points of conflict, the victim may attempt to reduce tension by complying with the abuser. And then verbal, emotional, physical, sexual abuse occurs. This includes anger, intimidation, threats, and other forms of abuse. Then after the abuse, the abuser will go into this honeymoon phase, and they'll overly apologize. I didn't mean to. It'll never happen again. Shows remorse and often begs for forgiveness. They may shower the victim with love and affection and promise that the abuse will never happen again, right? And then you believe them, and then it goes back to calm, where it stops or slows down the behavior. Like you're like, oh, they are changing. Look, they're not doing it anymore. And they might continue to ask for forgiveness during this time period or make positive gestures, but these tend to reduce in sincerity over time because this portion, this tension building and this abuse incident continues. This is a cycle, it just continues. The person does not change. The person does not do their internal work, go to counseling, help themselves. And so they keep abusing. They have to want to break the cycle. They have to want to stop. I'm going to give you an example. I'm just going to put it out there, and I think I've put it out there on my YouTube already, but I'm going to share it with you. Okay? I was heavily abused as a child. I was tortured, locked up, chased with knives and different things. I mean, tortured, abused. Okay? As I grew up into a teenager, I would abuse my sisters. We would abuse each other. We thought that's how you showed love. That is love, right? Wrong. And then it kind of went out onto my friends. I would be manipulative, jealous, vindictive. So it came out emotionally, not physically. I didn't physically hurt my friends, okay? And then when I got in a relationship with my first husband, I started hitting him, and I didn't even realize I was doing it. Didn't even realize it until he held me down one day and said, "You have to stop hitting me." I just couldn't believe. I was like, I didn't even realize I was hitting you. It was so ingrained in me. And then we had a child. You know, I thought, oh, once I stop hitting him, it'll be just fine. But we had a child, and I started abusing him. Probably verbally and emotionally, you know, saying mean things, you know, hitting or being really aggressive. I'm not going to lie, I had very unhealthy relationship habits that one day took me to the point of where I didn't want to be a mother anymore. I didn't want to live anymore because I wanted it to stop and I didn't know how to stop it. And when an abuser wants to stop the behavior, they will find any way to stop it. So I went to counseling with my son for 5 years. We went to counseling together, and I learned what healthy behavior is. And I learned, I think it's behavioral therapy, where you give rewards and consequences to the child. instead of verbal, emotional, or physical abuse. And we just would practice every day. You can't do that. I'm going to take away this, or have a consequence, or you don't get to go out. You don't get the video game. You need to go to your room. I'm sorry. You can't have that. And just very calm and collective. And it worked. It worked. 5 years of therapy, 5 years of practicing, 5 years of him and I working together. And the abuse stopped. The anger and the vindictive and the manipulation and all of that, it stopped. Because I was willing to get on medication. I was willing to go to therapy and counseling. I was willing to change my behaviors. So if you have an abuser in your life that is willing to change, that abuse cycle will stop. Other than that, the abuse cycle will not stop until they want to change themselves. Okay? Okay. Yeah, and it goes into it there. Okay, so the next portion is codependency. Excessive emotional or psychological reliance on a person or thing. It can be in a relationship, parental, children, partner, or coworker. You may have a dependency on drugs, alcohol, food, money, or electronics. So codependency can be physical, psychological, emotional. It's a bondage. Where there is codependency, there is bondage. It's this habit. Do you see how codependent is down here? Insecurity, manipulation, and bad habits, needing to be needed, trying to control somebody else's behavior, activities done in excess. You are in bondage, either with drugs, alcohol, food, money, electronics, or in a relationship emotionally. If this fits for you, this is just a reference. If while we're doing the relationship work, you figure out that you're codependent, this can help you see that and switch gears here, okay? So let's go over, how do you know if you're codependent? Does your sense of purpose involve making extreme sacrifices to satisfy your partner's needs? And that would mean that you're not holding your own boundaries either. You're overstepping your own value, your own respect, and your own boundaries to satisfy your partner or somebody else. Is it difficult to say no when your partner makes demands on your time and energy? Or are your boundaries in place and your self-care is in place and it's not difficult? Do you cover for your partner's problems with abuse, bad behaviors, drugs, alcohol, or the law? You could be codependent. Do you constantly worry about others' opinions of you? Do you feel trapped in your relationship? Do you keep quiet to avoid arguments, walking on eggshells? You could be emotionally or psychologically codependent with this other person, if this is a person. So how do you resolve codependency behaviors? Well, first of all, you have to recognize that you're in a codependent relationship, or you're codependent with drugs or alcohol, sex, overspending, overeating. You can be in a codependent relationship with any of those behaviors, okay? So recognition of the situation or behavioral pattern. Being honest, don't sugarcoat it or cover it up or make excuses anymore. It has to be out there. It has to be the truth. You have to be honest. I have this problem. Please help me, okay? Self-care, you nurture your own wants and needs first before you're overextending yourself for somebody else. See yourself as capable, independent, and self-reliable. Consider counseling, because this could take a lot of work, and it could be both of you. Maybe both of you are codependent on each other. Rely on peer support. And if it gets up to this where you need to walk away, you walk away. either completely leave, or you take a break, or you stop enabling the behavior. If you have somebody in your life who's codependent on alcohol or drugs, you stop enabling their behavior, or on healthy patterns, and you set boundaries. Respond to situation or person instead of reacting. You're going to set a boundary instead of like, oh, no, 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 I'm going to help you, I'm going to help you, I'm going to help you, don't go away. You're going to not react. You're going to stand back and really evaluate what you do need to do for yourself to be healthy and make the other person um, go in a healthier direction. Okay. We'll get to the victim. I think all of us have played the victim at some point, especially me, having abuse. I'm the victim. I didn't do anything to anybody else, which is crap. Uh, so nothing will change if you don't change. We already talked about this in the abuse cycle. We have all played the victim at some point in our lives, not taking responsibility. It is a coping mechanism or a learned behavior for attention seeking and manipulation purposes. It makes us feel safe to stay in old patterns, right? So signs of playing the victim: you don't take responsibility for your actions or what you do. You are frozen in your life. You're not growing in any way. You hold on to grudges. You don't forgive. Trouble with asserting yourself. You're very timid. Maybe you just don't have enough self-confidence, or your boundaries aren't in place. You don't trust others. You assume or expect that others will fail you. You have unhealthy boundaries. Easily angered. You feel sorry for yourself. You can't see outside of yourself. You're constantly comparing yourself to others, always seeing a lack in life. You're critical of others. You are vomiting your baggage and critical of others. Thinking you are perfect, opting for perfection constantly. And you cut people out of your lives, out of your life. This is without an inner knowing of when to walk away, mostly done in spite. So you just, well, who cares? Goodbye. Never talking to you again. And they really didn't do anything. So this is just a reference if maybe you've been playing the victim in your life. Or maybe when we go over some of the relationships, other people were playing the victim in their lives. Everybody's going through something. Okay, these are assessments that you can do to learn more about yourself. I talked about this in my first program, the 5 love languages. I'm going to talk about it now because I think that learning about yourself is wonderful and it helps you learn about others. So there are 5 love languages of how we like to be loved and how others like to be loved: acts of service, words of affirmation, touch, gifts, and time. And I provided websites if you want to know your personality and get to know yourself better here. Along with the 5 love languages website, it also has apology languages. How do you like apologies? Maybe somebody genuinely apologized to you and you didn't accept it, but it could be because you take apologies in a different form and you don't even know it. So taking one of these tests might help you too. Accept responsibility, make restitution, request forgiveness, genuinely repent, or expressing regret. And then on the 5 love languages website, it also has anger, and it has recognition and ways to assist with your specific anger if you're having any anger issues. While we're going through the work, you might want to look at that and see if they can assist you. They might be a good tool for you. I am just here to give the information. I don't know everything, but if I can direct you in the right way to the right path that helps you with something that you're struggling with, I'm going to put it out there. You can see that my workbooks are so large and have so much information, and it's because even if it didn't work for me, it might work for you. Okay, so I'm just putting it out there. If you need it, it's there. Okay, I'm gonna get on to grief. Grief can happen over anything, anything, you guys. Changes or transition in your life, which this is what we're doing now. We're going through transition, we're going through change. You can have grief over a pet, a death, a divorce, a move of location, losing your hair, being diagnosed with a new disease, changing jobs, changes in finances, retiring, graduating college, selling a car, or loss of a dream. Okay, list goes on and on. I like to put this out there because you might not recognize this feeling of grief while you're going through the program, but you can grieve over anything. So I just put it out there what the stages of grief are. And it can be disguised as anger, fear, or depression. You might actually have an underlying feeling of grief if you feel angry, fearful, or depressed. Okay. Here are the 7 stages of grief. Shock. So initial paralysis of hearing the bad news. You just don't believe it. Nope, don't believe it. Denial, trying to avoid the inevitable. Man, I must be tired. I can't talk right. Anger, you're frustrated, outpouring of bottled up emotions. Bargaining, seeking in vain for a way out. Most of this, if it's a death, you're praying to God, why did you do this? Trying to bargain with God, bring them back, bring this back. I swear I'll do anything. But you can do it with any situation. You could be depressed. Final realization of the inevitable. Testing, so you're seeking realistic solutions, and then you finally accept. Finally finding the way forward. And this is not linear. Okay, this stages of grief can go all over the place. You might feel like you've accepted it, and then all of a sudden you're back in anger. So totally fine. Okay, so acknowledge your pain. Accept that grief can trigger many different and unexpected emotions. Understand that your grieving process will be quite unique to you. Seek out face-to-face support from people who care about you. Support yourself emotionally by taking care of yourself physically. And recognize the difference between grief and depression. And this was in my first workbook. I think I need water. Sorry, you guys. Okay, this was in my first workbook, and I brought it over to this workbook because this really helps with going through grief, okay? You might feel all of these emotions down here, alone and lost, and I feel responsible for this, and I hate this, and I feel guilty, and I feel confused and angry and regret. And, this is kind of an example of how you can write out all of your feelings about what you're grieving. And you're going to give yourself permission to be angry and grieve and work through it. It's a safe place to let go of anger, resentment, fears, grudges, vengeful thoughts. And then we are going to use down here the law of correspondences. We are going to transmute it by burning it using fire energy in any color candle that you want. You burn the letter and allow the universe to transmute this energy and take it. Okay? I'm gonna stop this here. I need some water. I think I need to recoup. See, I can't talk, I need water. And we only have a couple more things to go over. I'll be right back. Okay. Let's see. This goes over what an empath is. If you think you are an empath, if you can feel other people's emotions, if you are highly attuned to other people's emotions, moods, good and bad, this will affect your relationships. These are characteristics of an empath. This is how the things that I have used: meditation, cleansing, calling upon my spirit team, journaling, crystals, elements. This is what I have used to assist me in my empathic abilities. Sometimes all of the emotions can be so overwhelming, and how do I block it? How do I transmute the energy? How do I get rid of it? How do I um, help other people without hurting myself? Right? So I give you some things like I could not have a healthy relationship until I learned how to use my empathic ability and be okay with myself. So if you are an empath, these are some tools you can use. And then it goes on to energy vampires. When you are an empath, there will be energy vampires that come around you. They are emotionally immature individuals who have the sense that the whole world revolves around them. They are almost incapable of seeing things from other people's perspective. They often lack empathy. They believe that they must take everything they can from others, and that if they give, it will deprive them of their essential resources. Types of energy vampires: the victim, the martyr, narcissist, the dominator, melodramatic, judgmental, the innocent. There's a lot more like the passive aggressive, you know. So, how you know if they're an energy vampire, if you can feel emotion and you are an empath, this person generally gives you an energy. It'll take your energy or sap it from you, and you'll be like, "Whoa, I feel drained when I'm around this person." So really feel into how you feel around a person. And do I notice my happiness level goes down, or do I get in a bad mood or feel sick? I have actually had some people feel sick and go home when they've been around certain people that are draining their energy. And do I look forward to seeing this person, or do I dread it? So you might be emotionally intuitive if some of these things are happening to you. Okay, so how to protect yourself is first recognize it. Am I being drained? Take a deep breath and, in the moment, notice, take a deep breath, focus on your internal environment, and use your energy. You can use your own energy to counter the effects and stop or block them from continuing to take from your energy. Visualize a protective white light around you, an energy shield. You are creating a buffer zone where the negative energy and influences can dissipate. I didn't even put the meditation in here. I have a really good meditation. Did I put it up here? Yep, there she is. Michelle Chalfant. She has one of the best. Right there. Can you see it? She has one of the best empath meditations around. I love it. Setting boundaries will help. Step back and think about what type of people aggravate you, because I believe that one law of energy is that we attract what we haven't yet worked out in ourselves. If I am a very angry person, I'll find myself surrounded by angry people. By paying attention to the people who seem so draining, you might discover something you need to address within yourself. It has been my experience that once you've worked through a particular issue, you'll no longer be worn out by any kind of energy vampire. And step away. There may be someone so volatile in your life that you have to step away completely. Okay. Over chakras, auras, intuition, clairs. This goes over letting go. It's just kind of slow today. Sorry. This goes over letting go. Have you ever had somebody say, "Well, just let it go"? Let it go. Oh, the mastery of letting go. There's a whole library of books on the subject. How do we let go? And I've kind of set this up for you so you can figure out what works for you and ways to let go. Okay, so I set it up. How do you let go? If you need to let go of something, maybe you go through this page right here and figure out how to let go. And when we're going through, I was going to take this down. I'm actually going to leave it up. When we are going through relationships, you'll figure out that you'll have a lot of shame and guilt. Let me tell you the difference right here. Guilt, it says, I did something wrong, or you think you did something wrong. And shame is, I am something wrong. Very different. Very different to be guilty for something and feel shame for something. There, for shame, it says, there is something deep inside of me that is not worthy, not deserving, not lovable, and broken. And guilt, the feeling of guilt, is an ability to correct a behavior if possible. You see how different that is? So shame has a lot to do with how we grew up, comparisons, self-esteem, and how we can heal from that. So we stop feeling shame. And this goes over steps of how to get rid of guilt and shame. And comparisons. When we work through some of the relationships, you might be like, man, I'm comparing myself a lot, and you might feel a lot of shame because you are comparing yourself. So you see how different these are? These are two different types of people. When you're sitting in comparison, you'll hold grudges, criticize, have a sense of entitlement. You might be really lazy. Think they know it all, operate from a transactional perspective, fly by the seat of their pants, talk about people behind their back, hoard information and ideas, exude anger, never set goals, don't know what they want, secretly hope others fail. See how that person is just, and it's because they're comparing. It's because they're not looking at how beautiful and enough they are. That's why I keep saying you are enough. You don't have to compare yourself to anybody. And when you stop comparing yourself and you know that you're enough, you will have a sense of gratitude. You'll forgive others, compliment others, give other people credit for their victories. You'll be more productive, accept responsibility for your failures, want others to succeed, make a to-do list, set goals, and try to accomplish them. Enhance change, continuously learn, operate from a transformational perspective. You see how different that is when you're comparing and not comparing? When you compare, it sucks the joy out of your life. Sucks the joy right out of your life. Okay, I tried to go over that as quickly as I could. So that's all the references that you have to go back on when we are doing the core work. If you need to look back on any of the first pages, you can look back on those, and then we will be getting to the core work in the next video. I'm so excited to be working with you. This is a very hard, joyful, beautiful journey. And I am excited to hold space for you and be with you. And I just love that you have taken time out to do this for yourself. Congratulations. I will see you in the next video. Take care.